In a series where kids in their mid-teens are expected to do so much, not only via training, but in accomplishment as well, it's not difficult for us to forget that at the end of the day, these kids are in fact human. And while yes, episode 12 of Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba does show us how extremely talented and skilled these kids are, they do so while also not forgetting to remind us of the limitations of the human body. Episode 12 travels unknown waters, as for the first time this series breaks the formula that has been working so well for it throughout the past 11 episodes, and covers 3 chapters instead of 2. And this isn't like last episode, where it covers 2 chapters and then the first 2 or 3 pages of a third. This episode completely covers 3 chapters, those being chapters 22, 23, and 24. Chapter 22 being everything before the eye catcher, and chapters 23 and 24 being everything after it. This is somewhat of a big deal, as I was very interested in seeing how the staff would go about adapting this series when a change of pace was needed, and I was expecting a change of pace soon, especially considering how little actually happens in chapter 22, because really the only notable thing for me, at least, that did take place during chapter 22 was the continued exposition and understanding of the Drum Demon's demon art technique. Though the increased pacing could also be due to all the fighting that happens in these chapters. But it's chapter 23 where things really start getting spicy, as this is the chapter where literally an episode and a half of Zenitsu being an annoying character pays off as the god awakens, ironically while being asleep. But hey, I mean, it's better being useful only while asleep than being completely useless. I absolutely love the way they handled and adapted the thunderclap flash. In the manga, it was just as hype, but didn't look nearly as theatrical as the anime had it look. Everything about it was just so extra, I fucking love it. Yet another example of where the animation staff takes something that was already really good from the manga and just fucking pumps it up with tax evasion money. It's quite a beautiful sight to see. But with this scene, we also learn why Zenitsu has absolutely no faith in himself and his breath of lightning techniques. And that's because anytime he does anything that would make him think of himself as a skilled swordsman, the kid's fucking asleep. And speaking of swordsmen, chapter 23 also gives us a look at this mystery demon slayer and his way of fighting, the self-taught beast breathing style, which is quite different from the other 2 styles of breathing that we are aware of so far. And Ufotable just continue to throw that tax evasion money at this series when we look at how it went about adapting certain aspects of chapter 24. A chapter titled Former Member of the 12 Kizuki, aka the 12 Demon Moons. And while, don't get me wrong, the brief backstory that we do get on Kyogai is really interesting and informative, I do want to leave that out of the discussion and focus more on that next episode. Because god damn, can we talk about how beautifully that action sequence of Tanjirou moving in response to Kyogai's drums was animated? Like, genuinely, when I first read that sequence in the manga, I had absolutely zero clue what the fuck was going on. I just kind of accepted it, you know, like, okay, this guy's upside down now. But everything in the anime moved so fluidly and looked absolutely amazing. I really like these chapters, not only because I was waiting to see how the staff went about adapting those action sequences, but also because although not much may be happening thematically in these chapters, things are happening to our characters. As I mentioned in the beginning, I think this episode really tries to get through to us just how human Tanjirou is. And we also saw instances of Gotege Koyoharu trying to do this throughout Tanjirou's battle versus Yaiba, the arrow demon. but I think this battle versus the Tsuzumi demon, Kyogai does a better job at getting that message across. Because first of all, one of the things that has been established this arc is that Tanjiro cannot protect everyone. The first thing Tanjiro sees when he gets to the drum mansion are two children that are absolutely frightened, followed by a kid getting tossed out of the mansion via the second floor and just fucking splatting to his death. And I mean, if you really want to say it, the first hint of Tanjiro being unable to protect everyone was his family back in episode 1. But even in this episode still, at a point, Tanjiro had no choice but to hope that Teruko and her brother Kyoshi could survive long enough on their own while he handles the bigger threat. And that's not even all of it. Kyogai is not the only threat in this mansion. Throughout the episode, we see dead children that Tanjiro could not save, and we see demons that Tanjiro cannot slay because, well, he's not aware of them. But Tanjiro is also not the only demon slayer in this mansion, though that again brings us to a case where Tanjiro has to rely on others. And by the way, I'm not criticizing this. This is not something I think is bad. I love how Tanjiro can feel his injuries, and I love how maybe one day Tanjiro might arrive at a village only to find out that if he had arrived a day or two earlier, he could have stopped a huge tragedy from happening, quite similar to what happened to Giyu back in episode 1. Like I said, I love how you have to consider the injuries that Tanjiro suffered in that aforementioned battle versus the Arrow Demon, and consider the fact that Kyogai was an ex-member of the 12 Demon Moons. I believe he was the weakest of the 12 moons, but is still the strongest demon Tanjiro has encountered. And then there's also the fact that Kyogai's Blood Demon art technique is just fucking insane. It really makes you question, how will Tanjiro survive this fight? Hell, it makes you wonder how any demon slayer ever has been able to surpass a demon, considering the innate abilities every demon has and how much of a disadvantage demon slayers are actually in. Though while the chances of Tanjiro dying are low, yes, the cards are stacked against him, but remember, he is our main character, and he does have at least two people he can rely on in ZENITSU and Nezuko, because we don't really know if we can trust Boarhead over here. I don't think the act of dying would make Tanjiro sad or disappointed in himself. At the end of the day, people die, that's just life. But what would make Tanjiro sad or disappointed in himself is what dying would mean, what his death would represent. Tanjiro dying, amongst other things like the death of every other human in this house probably, also means that Nezuko does not get a cure and has to live the rest of her life on the run as a demon. And I'll be damned if Tanjiro is the first shonen protagonist that does not meet his goal. So, are the words Tanjiro says at the end of the episode just a bunch of empty threats? Or are those threats coming from the heart of a demon slayer? But hey, as always, these are my thoughts and I'm curious to hear yours. If you are an anime only, let me know your thoughts on this episode and any predictions you may have. So, what are your opinions on Zenitsu and our still mystery demon slayer now that you know more about their fighting style, and after finding out that Zenitsu might not be completely useless after all? Did your opinions change? And after fully knowing what abilities we're working with here, in terms of demons and swordsmen, how do you think the battle between Tanjiro and the drum demon Kyogai will go? And if you're a manga reader, let me know how you felt Ufotable adapted this episode and what parts do you think they could have done a better job with, if any. And feel free to discuss anything I forgot to mention in the comments below. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, it helps the channel out a lot. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, link will always be in the description. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel and make sure you hit that bell. That way you make sure you don't miss a video and can continue watching Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, and many other series with me. And with that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.